Be seated, please. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a very pleasant lunch. Certainly the weather outside is nice. It seemed to get warmer between when we left and when we came back to the courthouse. But it is still that time of year. Just a few comments. I know that some of you have got some health concerns, but it's very important while we're doing the general questioning, which we're doing right now, that you stay in the courtroom and not leave. When we get into individual panels, we'll have a little more latitude, although you'll be in the jury box, so it will be a little more awkward. But I understand and want to work with you. But right now, when they're asking their general questions, it's extremely important that they capture your answers. And if you're, missing in action or AWOL or gone, that's not going to happen. So if you could accommodate that request, I would appreciate it. Mr. Boyd?
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing that you're probably going to find through this process is that attorneys are notoriously bad at estimating time and telling you, or you're going to hear the term, just a few more questions. We always say that, and it's not true. It's almost like a bless your heart type of thing. We just say it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm probably going to regret this, but I've got about 30 minutes left, so I'm about 2/3 of the way through, so let's see if I can get somewhere reasonably close to that. Okay. All right, we left off at ask questions about whether you had volunteered with kids or worked in a paid capacity with kids. Who here has ever had to care for another person, not a child, but somebody that may have been sick or disabled or something like that? Who here has ever had to take care of another person other than a child? If so, raise your hand. Okay. Juror number 1. Okay. And that it would be if like a sick parent or something like that, that would qualify. Okay. Juror 2. Thank you. Juror 3. Juror 4. Juror 6, thank you. Juror 7. Juror 9, thank you, sir. Juror 10. And Juror 12. All right, second group. Juror 13. Juror, make sure you don't have your hand up. Okay. Juror 15. Juror 16. And Juror 18. Next row, Juror 20. Juror 22. Juror 23. Okay. Last group, Juror 25. Anybody else in that row? Juror 31. Juror 32. And Juror 34. All right. Who here has ever had a bad experience with law enforcement? What I mean by that is something, it could be something like really, really bad, or maybe you got a speeding ticket one time and you thought you were treated rudely or something like that. Who here has had a bad experience with law enforcement such that it sticks out in your mind? If so, raise your hand. Okay, first group, no hands. Oh, okay, juror number 6. Thank you, sir. Okay. Oh, sorry. Juror number 2.
Do you like mistreated?
Well, that's a good question, and so we'll talk about an individual. Thank you. All right. Anybody else in the first group? Okay, second group. Okay, nobody in the second group. Okay, third group. Let's see, juror 34. And juror 36. Thank you. Okay, the converse of that, who here has had a good experience with law enforcement such that it stuck out in your mind? Had a really good experience with law enforcement such that when I said that and asked that, you immediately were like, oh yeah, I've had something happen where, it just sticks out in my mind that it was such a good experience. Okay. Juror 3. Thank you. Juror 2, you kind of on the fence about it, or? Okay. Well, I've got one more to get to, and then make up your mind. I'm just kidding. Okay, Juror 7. All right. Keeping it down? All right. Okay, second group. Juror 15. Okay. Anybody else? Second group, third group. Okay, no hand. Oh, Juror 36. All right. Now, who here has anyone here had a bad experience with a prosecutor's office? It could be a misdemeanor prosecutor, felony prosecutor, either here in Glenn County or somewhere else. Who here has had a bad experience with a prosecutor's office? Okay. Nobody in the first group, nobody in the second group, and Juror 32. All right, thanks, sir. Okay, kind of, again, the other way around. Who here has had a good experience with a prosecutor's office or prosecutor that sticks out in your mind? If so, raise your hand. Okay, nobody in the first group, nobody in the second group, nobody in the third group. Okay, is there anybody here who feels that either yourself or you know somebody, a family member or a close friend, somebody you feel has been treated unfairly by the judicial system? Either it could be in a civil case, divorce, or a criminal case. Is anybody here, either yourself, family member, or friend, you know somebody who's been treated as you feel unfairly by the court system? If so, raise your hand. First group, no hands. Second group, no hands. Third group, no hands. All right, remember what I told y'all? We have the GCIC, which is known as criminal histories here, to kind of give us arrests and things like that. I'm going to ask you, this pertains to something, I'm not going to be talking about some kind of parking ticket or anything like that. I mean like something just over a parking ticket, like you've been arrested for DUI, battery, or something greater. Not just you, but you, a family member, or a close friend. Okay, you, family member, or a close friend. Does anybody here know someone that has ever been arrested, prosecuted, or convicted for a crime? Okay. I'd be raising my hand too. I think most of us would, so. All right. Thank you, Juror 1, Juror 2, Juror 3, thank you. Juror 5, thank you, sir. Juror 6. Juror 7, Juror 8, Juror 11, and Juror 12. Thank you, sir. All right. Second group, Juror 13, Juror 14, Juror 16, Juror 17. Thank you, sir. 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, thank you, sir. Juror 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, last row. Juror 32, 33, 34, and 35. Okay, I know that there's several military people here, so it's kind of a corollary to that. Does anybody here know someone who's been subject to a court-martial or anything like that? Does anybody here know somebody that's been subject to a court-martial? Like it's similar to an arrest. Anybody? Panel? Okay. All right. Juror 3. Thank you, sir. Second panel. Second group. Juror 17. Thank you, sir. And 27. anyone here that has either yourself, a family member, or a close friend ever been falsely accused of a crime? Yourself, family member, or close friend. Does anybody here know somebody that you believe has been falsely accused of a crime before? Okay. First panel, or group, sorry. No hands. Second group, no hands. Third group.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about crime, are you talking about a misdemeanor or felony or?
Yeah, yes. Kind of the same definitions I've given before.
Okay.
Yes. So, you want to raise your hand?
Yeah.
All right. That is juror 34 for the record. Anybody else? Is there anybody here who's actually been a witness in a court proceeding? And I mean by witness, I mean you've actually had to come into court either in a civil case, a criminal case, something like that, where you've had to raise your hand, swear to tell the truth, and testify either before a jury or a judge. Has anybody here ever been a witness in a case? Okay. Let's see. Juror number 12. Thank you, sir. A lot more over here in the second group. Juror 13. Juror 15. Okay. Next row. Juror 19. Juror 22. Juror 23. Okay, last group, we've got juror 31. Okay, who here has ever provided a statement to a police officer before? Either something like, something happened, your house got broken into, or there was a car accident, something such that you actually had to sit down with the police officer and talk to them and give them a statement of what you either witnessed or what happened. Okay. Juror 1. 2. 3. Thank you, sir. 5. 6. Thank you, sir. 9. 11. And 12. Okay. Second group. Wow. All right. 13. 14. 15. 17. 18. Second row, group 2, juror 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and last group, 27. Anybody else in that row? Okay, last row, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Okay. Now, I know we've had some levity in here a little bit about some of these questions and things like that, but because you've heard the indictment and things like that, we need to make sure that we make sure you don't have any personal experiences. As we've talked about, we don't expect you to come in here not knowing anything, having heard anything, having any opinions. It's whether you can put that aside and put any experiences aside and be fair to both sides and follow just the evidence and the law in this case, just simply to do that. So I have to ask some questions, though, kind of in relation to this to see if you have any experiences with certain subject matters. So to start with, has anybody here, and I know we've got teachers in here, so we'll probably get some hands, has anybody here ever had to report or make a complaint or allegation regarding suspicions of child abuse? either to DFACS, police, or a boss or something like that. Has anybody here ever had to report suspicions of child abuse, either physical, neglect, anything like that? Okay. First group. Okay. And that's juror 3. Thank you. Okay. Second group. Okay. Juror 13. Thank you. Juror 14. Next row, no one. Third group, juror 27. Do a follow-up to that. Has anybody here, either yourself, family member, or a close friend, has ever been investigated or had to deal with allegations of child abuse, neglect, or anything like that? Does anybody here know somebody that's been investigated for child abuse, either neglect, something like that, investigated by, could have been DFACS or another agency? Okay. First group. Okay. Juror 10. Thank you, ma'am. Second group, no. Third group, juror 29, thank you. And juror 32. Is there anyone here who either you or somebody close to you has ever had to deal with the sudden death of a child? Anybody here, either yourself or somebody close to you, has had to deal with the sudden death of a child? My child, I don't mean like an adult son or something like that. A child, somebody that was a minor when they passed away, unfortunately. First group, okay, juror 3. Thank you, sir. Juror 5. Thank you. Juror 9. Thank you, sir. Juror 10. Juror 11. Thank you, sir. Next group. Juror 13. Thank you. Juror 16. Thank you, ma'am. Juror 17. Thank you. Okay, next row, juror 20. Juror 22. Okay. Last group, juror 26. Thank you. Juror 27. And juror 30. Okay, last row, juror 31. And juror 34. Is there anyone here who either has a family member or somebody close to them has ever been the victim of a homicide? Is anybody here, either a family member or a close friend, have somebody like that has been a victim of a homicide? If so, raise your hand. Okay. 3-ish. Okay. I'll mark you down and we'll talk about it, okay? Okay. Juror 8. Okay. Second group. Juror 13. Okay, juror 15. Juror 16. Let's see, juror 20. Okay, last panel, no hands. All right. How many people here are actually familiar with Cobb County? You know where it is. How many people know where Cobb County is? Okay, so most people kind of know. Let me ask some more particular questions of that. Has anybody here ever lived in Cobb County? Has anybody here ever lived in Cobb County? Okay, we'll start with the first group. No hands. Okay. Second group. Who has lived in Cobb County? Okay. Juror 17. Thank you. Okay, second row, juror 20. Is it 21? Okay, and last group, juror 26. Okay. Does anybody here have family members that live or have lived in Cobb County? Anybody here have family members that live or have lived in Cobb County? Okay. Let's see. Juror 4. Okay. Juror 10. Sorry, let me go back over here. Juror 7.
I'm not sure.
There's a lot of confusion. We'll clear it up because some people are like, does this city count as Cobb? Does that? It all kind of runs together. We'll figure it out individually because some of it y'all are going to be way off. I'm just going to see how far off y'all are going to be. What's that? Just say yes, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll tell you how wrong you are if you're wrong. All right. All right. Thank you, Juror 9 and Juror 12. Make sure I wrote that down right. Okay. Next group. Juror 13. Okay. Nobody on that row. Second row, group 2. Juror 20. 21. Okay. 22. And last group, we've got juror 31. And 32. Okay. I'm going to read out some locations. If you know these locations in Cobb County, raise your hand, okay? First of all, there's a Chick-fil-A located at 2485 Cumberland Parkway in Cobb County, Georgia. That's over near 285 Paces Ferry area. If you know the area, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, is anybody here familiar with that area, that Chick-fil-A? Okay. Juror 12. Thank you. Okay, second group, juror 15. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in that group? No? Okay, going back to the third group, juror 26 and juror 33. Okay, who here, are any of y'all familiar with Acres Mill Square? Kind of over in the same general area. It includes businesses like Uncle Mattio's, Cinco's, Acres Mill Shopping Center. Anybody here familiar with that area? Okay, first group. 12. Okay. Second group, no hands. Third group, juror 26. How about the Home Depot Treehouse office location at 2600 Cumberland Boulevard? Anybody here familiar with that? Okay, first group, no hands. Second group, no hands. Third group, no hands. And finally, Home Depot headquarters at 2455 Paces Ferry Road in Cobb County. Anybody here familiar with that location? First? Okay. It's juror 12. And juror 26. Is there anybody here familiar with Stonebridge Church in Marietta, Georgia? If so, raise your hand. No hands in group 1, no hands in group 2, no hands in group 3. Okay, now Is there anybody here, either yourself or a family member or a close friend, has ever been in a dating, romantic, or some type of relationship like that where they've met the person online? Is anybody here, either yourself, family member, or friend, somebody you know, has ever been in a relationship where they met the person online? Okay. Okay, juror 1. Okay. Juror 2. Juror 5. Oh, sorry. Juror 3. Juror 5. Juror 6. Okay. Juror 11. And juror 12. All right, second group. Any hands? Okay. Juror 15. 16. Okay. Second row, no hands. Okay, last group. Okay. 27. And last row, juror 34 and 35. Okay. Is there anybody here, or either yourself or somebody you know, has ever forgotten or almost forgotten and left a child or an animal in a motor vehicle? Forgotten an animal or a child in a motor vehicle. Is anybody here, either yourself or somebody you know, done that before? Okay. All right. Juror 6, thank you. Okay. Second group. Juror 16. Okay, third group. Okay, no hands. Has anybody here, either yourself or somebody you know, forgotten a child somewhere other than in a car? Like forgot a child somewhere other than in a car? If so, raise your hand. Okay. Juror 2. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Second group. Okay. Third group. Juror 35. All right. Has anyone here ever heard news accounts or read about accounts of children being left in motor vehicles for some period of time, either intentionally or negligently or for whatever reason? Has anybody here heard news accounts of this happening? If so, raise your hand. All right. Who here is not? Okay, good. That was easy. Now we don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. Who here currently transports a child in a car seat? Who here currently transports a child in a car seat? It could be your own child or a grandchild or something different. Okay. Juror 5, thank you. Juror 8, thank you. Juror 10. Second group. Nobody. Okay. Third group. Start with, okay. Juror 27. Juror 25, sorry. And juror 35. Who here has ever been responsible for transporting, not either now or before, transporting a child to daycare or school? Who here has ever been responsible for that? Okay. Okay, but who has not? And that makes it easier. Okay. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to that panel. Yeah, so, all right. First panel, or group, sorry. 2. Okay. 6. Anybody else? 11. All right. Second group. Or before. Have you done it before? Okay, then don't raise your hand. If you've never been responsible for transporting a child to daycare or school. Okay, so juror 15. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, has anybody here ever ridden in or driven a Hyundai Tucson? I really butchered how you pronounce Hyundai the other day, so I've tried to correct that. Okay, anybody here ever ridden in or driven one? Okay, juror number 8. And anybody else out there? Okay, juror 16. All right. Just so you know, I hate to speak for the defense. I usually will not do that, but I imagine they're not going to have as many questions for you because I've tried to be as comprehensive as possible. And I only have a few other questions. First of all, has anybody here ever... We had some people in a prior jury panel who were really involved in criminal laws and things like that. Is there anybody here who's ever researched the Georgia statutes or statutes of another state regarding the law on murder, cruelty to children, sexual exploitation of minors, or dissemination of harmful materials to minors? Has anybody here ever researched the laws on those crimes? Okay. And I'll be raising my hand on this one too. Has anybody here ever been through a divorce? Okay. All right. Juror 3.
You mean personally or family?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is just personally. Sorry, not just knowing somebody. Thank you for making sure that was clear, because I probably would have got a lot of false positives on that. So, okay, yourself been through it. Juror 3. Okay. Juror 7. Thank you. Juror 8. Juror 10. Okay. Second group. Okay. Juror 13. 14, 15, juror 16, 17. Okay. Next row, juror 19, juror 20. Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say, 19? Okay. I didn't need to put that on you, yeah. I don't think your husband's going to be real happy about that. For the record, 20. Okay, got it. Because if you tell your husband your juror number, he's going to be like, what the heck? Okay. Juror 22 and juror 24. Okay, last group. All right, juror 26. Juror 28. And last row, juror 31, juror 32, 35, and juror 36. This case, the defendant is charged with murder. This is not a death penalty case. In the state of Georgia, the issue of punishment, if there is any punishment in a case, depending on what the verdict is left solely up to the court. A lot of people have particularly strong opinions about punishment, whether it's too harsh, too light, things like that. The issue is you're not going to be able to consider that issue at all if you're selected as a juror. Your role is to determine whether the defendant has been proven guilty of the charges in the indictment. Is there anybody here that has such strong feelings about what the law is and what the law should be regarding sentencing that they could not follow the law and put that issue out of their minds? No hands. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3. All right. Is there anyone here that has such strong feelings about the criminal justice system for one reason or another that they do not believe that or somebody that has such feelings about the criminal justice system that you think it would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case and follow the law that the judge gives? Is there anybody here that has some type of strong feeling toward the court system that they feel they would not be able to follow the law that the judge gives in this case?
Is this just in general, or is
Correct. Yes, let's say if you're a juror, you're going to be required to follow the law that the judge gives. If you disagree with it or whatever, you have to follow the law that the judge gives. Is there anybody here that would not be able to do that? Okay. Juror 27. All right. Anybody? Oh, 29. Okay. Okay. Two more questions. One, some people feel that it's wrong to sit in judgment of another. And what that means, a lot of people think that, for reasons, whether it be moral, philosophical, religious, or whatever, feel that they cannot sit in judgment of another person. Now, in this case, to sit in judgment is what it merely means is to listen to the evidence and the law and render a verdict as to whether the crimes have been proven in this case. So is there anybody here, though, that for whatever moral, religious, philosophical, or whatever reason, feel that they may not be able to sit in judgment and render a verdict in this case? Is there anyone here that has an issue with that? Okay. Juror 11. Thank you, sir. Okay. Group 2, Group 3. All right, last question. Is there anybody here who just really, really, really wants to serve on this jury? As expected, 0 hands. Okay. All right. All right. Thank y'all very much.
Mr. Philbrook.
All right, good afternoon. Again, I'm Maddox, and I'm getting to you now. It's 2:20, so we've been back from lunch for almost an hour, just in time for us to start getting maybe a little sleepy. So the good news is, with the last panel, I asked a lot of really, really good questions, because I heard them again from Mr. Boring today. So I don't have a lot of questions for you now. Mr. Boring did an excellent job covering most of the things that I needed to cover. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to do the same thing. I've got just a few questions, and I'm going to go panel by panel, okay? Just to give you an example, I started with 70 questions, and I think I probably only got 9 or 10. All right. The judge asked you, before Mr. Boring ever started asking questions, the judge asked if anyone had formed and expressed an opinion regarding the guilt or innocence of the accused. But what the judge indicated to you was expressed an opinion orally. She said that, have you spoken? Have you said it to anybody? So by a show of hands, I need to know if anyone has formed and expressed an opinion, but expressed that opinion online, typed it out, Facebook, email, anything online. All right, going to go panel by panel. All right, panel number 1. All right, panel 2. All right, so bear with me. You would be number 15. Okay. All right, and the row behind that. Nobody? All right, and the third panel. Let's see, you're the third one. So 27? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. And if I miss anybody, particularly in the back, please just holler out. All right, this is kind of a corollary of the question that was already asked. What I want to know is, have your family members or close friends expressed an opinion to you about the guilt or innocence of Ross? Has a family member or close friend expressed an opinion to you? Okay. Panel 1. All right, so if you'll just keep your hands up real quick. Number 1, thank you. All right, number 6, 8, thank you. 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, thank you. All right, in the second group, on the first row, this question. All right, 13, 14, 15.
Michelle, will you slow down a minute for everybody? Order, last judge. Thank you.
Do you need me to slow down for you? Okay. 17, 18. Man, you did not have your hand up, right? Okay. All right. The next row then. 21. 22. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So 23 and 24. And then the third panel, I appreciate that. Your hand's up very high. All right, number 25, 26, 27. Okay. Thank you. 28, 29, ma'am. Thank you. All right, and then in the back row, y'all are actually sitting on 2 rows. So 31. 33, 34, 35. Thank you so much. 36, and you've got long arms, sir. I can see you very well. Thank you. Okay. Has anybody Googled or researched or otherwise investigated any of us? And by that I mean any of the lawyers here or the judge. By any chance, has anybody done that? Looked our names up, looked the judge's name up, Googled it or anything? Yes, sir, thank you. And you are number 12. Okay. Okay, nobody on the second panel, and then on the third panel. Let's see. It's harder than it looks to count at a distance like this. All right, so you are 27. Thank you. All right, thank you. To the extent that Mr. Boring did not ask this specifically, I want to make sure that I've got anyone who has done any research that is Googled or looked up any criminal laws in Georgia, particularly laws about murder or cruelty or negligence or anything like that. I mean, if you've done it recently, not a decade ago. Has anybody done any legal research online recently? Anybody done that? No? Okay. All right. Is anyone familiar with any public service announcements, such as the governor's office Look Again campaign or anything like that, that reminds parents to look again or look in the back seat? Is anybody familiar with those type of public service announcements? All right, on the first panel. All right, if you just keep your hand up for just a minute. Okay, number 1. Number 7. Thank you, ma'am. Number 8. Number 12. Thank you, sir. All right, let's try this with the second panel then. Number 15. 17 and 18. Okay. All right, that next row. All right, nobody on that next row. And then the third panel. All right, thank you so much. 25. 27. All right, then I guess it's the back row. 1, 2, 3. Is it 33? All right, 33. 34. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. All right, is anybody familiar with websites that monitor child deaths in cars, such as kidsincars.org or noheatstroke.org? Is anybody familiar with those websites or websites like that? Monitor child deaths in cars. Anybody on panel 1? Okay. Panel 2? Panel 3? All right, is anybody familiar, read about, heard about, seen online, any products to prevent parents from accidentally leaving their child in a car? Is anybody familiar with any products from auto manufacturers or car seat manufacturers, anybody, to help parents prevent that? All right, number 12. Thank you. Second panel? Nobody, all right, so nobody on the second panel. Then on the third panel, 1, 2, number 26. Okay. All right. We've got one more in the back. Is it 34? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Does anybody in here themselves or your spouse take affirmative steps to remind you that the child is in the back of the car, such as leaving your shoe in the back of the car, leaving a phone in the back of the car, anything like that? Does anybody in this group take those kind of affirmative steps, either you or your spouse? Panel 1, 2, 3. All right, aside from, I think all of you indicated that you'd heard stories about children left in cars. Aside from stories about children or public service announcements about children, has anyone heard specifically public service announcements about leaving pets in cars, not to leave your pet in a car, or don't forget your pet in a car? Has anybody heard those public service announcements? All right, so if you will just keep your hand up. All right, start on the first panel. All right, number 1, number 2, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12. All right, and panel 2, it'll be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, the next row, 19, 20, 21. If I get your number wrong, holler out, okay? 22. 23. All right, and in the back row, big tall hand, 25. Thank you. 27, 29, 30. All right, 31. Sir, 32 is your hand up. Thank you. 33, 34, 35, 36. Thank you. All right, so most of you have indicated that you have at some time been responsible for transporting a child in a car seat. What I want to know is if any of you have, in purchasing a car seat, if any of you did any research before you made that purchase. Did any kind of research before purchasing a car seat? All right, first panel, number 3, number 12. Okay. All right, second panel, and 14. All right, the next row, the third panel, number 25. It's 27. All right, and back there would be 32. Is your hand up or not? All right, you give me some sort of signal there. I'm all mixed up there.
No, I'm sorry. I'm getting something out of my eye.
Okay, sorry. All right, 33. And 34. Or is that 35? 35, okay. Thank you. All right. Our kids kind of fall into two categories as far as car seats go. Those that go to sleep easily in a car seat and those who don't go to sleep in a car seat. What I want to know is if one or more of your children sort of fall in that first category where they fall asleep pretty easily as soon as you put them in a car seat. All right. Panel 1. Anybody? Yes, sir. Number 11.
When they were kids.
Yeah, when they were kids. Your grown children, not right. All right. You're 11, right? All right. Thank you. Okay. Number 3 and 7, 8. Second panel. All right, sir. And you are 17, 18, 20. Miss 20, is that the first time you've raised your hand? For me?
I think I raised it one other time.
All right. Then I've missed something, but we'll get it in individual questioning. All right. 2021.
Yeah, it was the divorce question.
Oh, I hadn't got to that question yet, but I'll circle back to that. I think they asked that question. All right. So the third panel, 25. You're 25. If there was a prize for the hand held the highest, you would definitely receive it. As much appreciated at my stature. All right. 27. 29, 30. All right. 32. Okay. I got you. 33, 34. It seems so impersonal, doesn't it? Just hollering out numbers. All right, 35. All right, thank you. I don't think that Mr. Boring covered this question. I'm assuming just about everybody, if you've been driving, eventually everybody gets a traffic ticket. What I want to know is if you've ever contested a traffic ticket, instead of mailing your payment in with the ticket, you actually come to court and you contest it. You say, I don't think I was speeding or whatever. All right, so anybody in panel 1 ever contested a traffic citation? Okay. Number 6. Your hand went up real quick on that, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Anybody else on panel 1? No? All right. Panel 2. Panel 2? No. Panel 3? Okay. 25. Thank you. Anybody else in the back? All right, so that's 1, 2, so it's 34? Yes, ma'am, thank you. Has anybody ever had to hire an attorney? Panel 1, you ever had to hire an attorney? All right, if you just keep your hands up, please. Number 3, number 1, number 5, number 7, number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, in panel 2. All right, if you just keep them up for me. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right. And the last 2 rows. Let's see. Not a taker on this one, 25? No? All right. 26. Thank you, ma'am. 27. Okay, 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. Thank you. All right. This falls into the category of a little more personal. I need to know if anyone in your family or close friend or close coworker, family, friend, or close coworker has had an affair. All right, panel 1. Let's see, 47. Thank you. All right, number 1, I got you. Number 3, thank you. Number 6. Number 8. 12. All right, panel 2. All right, so we're going to start with 13. Got 14, 15, 16, 17. So we go to 19, 20. 19, no. 20, yes. 22. 23. All right, and in the back row, let's see, we start with 27. 29. 31. 32. 34. And 35. All right, Mr. Warren did ask if anyone had been through a divorce, but there are divorces and then there are divorces. What I want to know about is if you've been through a contested divorce, not just where everybody agreed. I want to know if you've had to go to court and get lawyers and sort of fight it out. All right, panel one. Okay, number 3. Thank you, sir. All right, panel 2 and panel 3. So that would be 31. So I've lost my place here. 31, right?
Yes.
And 35?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Again, none of this is meant to embarrass anybody or to pry into your life, but this is a subject that we do need to touch on. So I need to know is if you know if your significant other or your children ever view pornographic websites. Panel 1. Panel 2. All right. Let's see. That's 20. Okay. All right, and then the last panel, that would be 29. And 35. Mr. Bourne did a real good job covering sort of the basic use of technology and apps and that kind of thing. But there's one site in particular that I want to ask about if you have any familiarity with, and that is Reddit or Reddit.com. I believe it's REDDIT. Two D's. REDDIT.com. Does anybody have familiarity with that? Panel 1. Let's see. All right, number 2. Okay. All right, second panel. And last panel, number 35. Who did I miss? Oh, okay. You are, what's your number, ma'am? 30, so I got 34 and 35. Okay, thank you.
By that, do you mean that we actually use it? Or?
Just if you're familiar with it. Okay. Hang on a sec. So I got 34 and 35. All right, ma'am, and are you 27? Okay, thank you. Has anyone ever dealt with someone who they believe to be in a state of shock as a result of a trauma or traumatic event? Has anybody ever dealt with a person they believe to be in shock? All right, so if you'll just leave your hands up for me, please. Okay. All right, number 1, number 3, number 11 and number 12. Okay. And then on the second panel, number 13. Number 21. And in the last panel, okay, that's number 25. 26, 27, and 32. Did I miss anybody? All right, does anybody believe that they will be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror where the evidence will include photographs of a dead child? Anybody believe that they're just going to be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror where the evidence will include photographs of a dead child? And what I'm really asking is, are you going to be unable to look at that kind of evidence? That's what I need to know. All right, so starting with panel 1. All right, so number 6. Okay. Ma'am, are you 10? Okay, 10, 11, 12. All right, panel 2. Let's see, that would be 15. Did I get it right, ma'am? 15? Okay. And then the row behind that would be 21, 22, and then the row behind that is actually the third panel, starting with 25, 26. I got a lot of answers from you. 27. 26 and 27. Okay. Got a lot of answers from you, Miss 27. Thank you. And number 20. Let's see. Is it 29? 29. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. And then in the back row, 31. 34. And 36. Same question you need to know is if anyone's going to be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror where the evidence may include descriptions of how a child dies in a hot car. Does anybody believe they're going to be unable to sit and listen to evidence of those kind of descriptions so that they could not be a fair and impartial juror? All right, panel 1. Let's see, number 11. Thank you, sir. All right, panel 2. Bear with me if you just keep your hands up. Let's see, panel 2, so that would be 13, 14, 15. Thank you, ma'am. All right, in the row behind that will be 21. All right, and then the third panel, 25, 26, 27, 29, and let's see, let me orient myself. You're number 30, okay, 31, 34, and 36. Thank you. Does anybody believe that they will be unable to view, they will be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror, where they will may have to view images of a graphic sexual nature? I may not have asked that very well. Does anyone believe they will be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror where the evidence may include graphic sexual imagery? In other words, you don't think you can look at it. All right, panel 1. All right, number 12. I get going fast, I'm liable to make a mistake. So if I call out the wrong number, y'all stop me. All right, panel 2, panel 3. All right. Same question. Does anyone believe they will be unable to sit as a fair and impartial juror where they will have to hear evidence which will include graphic sexual language, not images, but language? All right, panel 1, panel 2, and panel 3. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Counsel, Roach, Mr. Sharon. Kim, I don't think it's good.